Welcome back, everybody, to the SRU podcast with me and my guy Will Royal. Today we're going to be reviewing the Big Ten today, and well,
Obviously this is coming a day after week 0, so we're going to talk about those games in a second, at least those in the Big Ten.
yeah,
But we're going to start off with the news of the summer. UCLA and USC coming over from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. We talked about this in our Pac-12 breakdown, but just to reiterate, how do you feel about this move?
I feel like this move it's very controversial. First off, but this will make UCLA UCLA is going to be harder for them as a basketball school, but as a football school, it's going to be the worst for them because they don't really have a good football program. They're pretty decent, but I don't know if that's a good idea for them in their football program. But basketball, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, but we'll see how, other conferences are going to realign within that, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So AP poll, 4 teams from the Big Ten made it. Ohio State at 2, Michigan at 8, Michigan State at 15, and Wisconsin at 18. No Penn State. How do you feel?
Penn State, that they get their quarterback back from last year, but they don't make it is kind of crazy to me. Like, they're a pretty good program. Like, they always have a good team every year. I would at least think they'd be 25 through 20 at least.
Yeah, this is obviously like a Penn State team that backtracked from previous years. I think they barely made about 500 last year. Lost to Arkansas. We'll talk about them when we come around to them.
Yeah.
So to start things off, we're going to talk about another team who backtracked from 2020, a team that made the top 25 in the COVID year, but last year had 2 wins on the season. Completely backtracked, and that is Indiana.
Yeah,
Indiana.
So,
going into Indiana, what do you think we could be seeing out of them?
Nothing. Honestly, nothing. I don't. Well, they had a pretty decent team a few years ago, but I don't see them being good at all. Basically, coming up, I can see them being a little bit better because they do have the number 25 recruiting class in the country from last year and number 5 in the conference. But this year, I don't see them being good at all. In my picks, I don't think I have them winning a league game.
Wow. But they do have Connor Bazelak coming in from Missouri. They have these transfers at running back coming in, if I can pull this up, Sean Shivers and Josh Henderson. Shivers from Auburn, Henderson from North Carolina. Do you think they can make an impact? And where do you see Tom Allen, the head coach, being after this year if they underperform?
They'll definitely make an impact. Bazelak, I remember playing him when Arkansas played him. He's actually not that bad of a quarterback. He's a pretty solid guy. And them getting more SEC talent on that team will definitely make a big improvement, but the rest of the team has to step up for them to actually improve and to save their coach's job this year, for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they do play Cincinnati in the season, along with Idaho and Western Kentucky. Those 2 I just named shouldn't be a problem, but do you think Cincinnati will be an issue?
Iowa and Western Kentucky, they're pretty good. Idaho and Western Kentucky, my bad. They're pretty good, like, smaller schools. Western Kentucky, I'm pretty sure they beat Arkansas, like, when we had Chad Morris. So, I don't know how they are now, but they're pretty solid, smaller programs.
Yeah, so moving on to the next team, the Oregon of the East, in terms of having their big supplier be in their city, and that's Maryland.
Yeah.
Last year they went 7-6. They beat Virginia Tech in the Pinstripe Bowl. They're head coached by Mike Locksley, who was a Saban assistant. So you have to have some semblance, and along with that, you have Tua's younger brother, Talia, who transferred from Alabama. Yeah. What can we see from Maryland with Talia? I think it's his 3rd year now as a quarterback at Maryland.
Honestly, I wish the best for him. I can see them being a middle of a pack team, and he actually performs pretty decent since he's moved to Maryland. So I really hope they have a pretty nice season because I actually wouldn't mind seeing Talia being a draft prospect pretty soon.
Yeah, their offense isn't that bad. Their defense is on the iffy. They only had 2 players record an interception at all last year.
Yeah,
one of which is now in the NFL. So
yeah,
that's going to be kind of a Achilles heel on Maryland's part. Schedule wise, their toughest game is SMU coming into College Park. Other than that, you're kind of the run of the mill, mostly Big Ten.
yeah. I might have to pull up to that game.
Yeah. Well, it's in Maryland, not
Oh,
Dallas.
okay, my bad, my bad.
Yeah. All right,
Speaking
moving
of
on.
SMU, their field got flooded, and they had like a huge bubble in the middle of their field.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. They ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. So moving on to last year's Big Ten champion, Michigan. They made it to the playoffs. They lost to eventual champion Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Do you think what can we seeing out of Harbaugh after the success last year? Finally got the hump, beating Ohio State.
Yeah,
Finally made it to the playoffs.
I
Do you
think
think we can see success?
I think his job is safe for now because I know Michigan fans kind of want him out of there, but him making the playoffs was huge. Honestly, when it comes down to the Ohio State Michigan game, the last regular season game of the season, that's gonna basically. I feel like that's gonna see who wins the division. I mean, not division, the actual conference this year, and that could be a deciding factor on who makes it to the playoffs in this conference. So, them in that QB battle is going to be a problem. I feel like until they figure out who they want it to be, and losing Adrian Hutchinson is huge, just because that's their best defender from last year, and they pride themselves on defense for the past few years, and we'll see what's going to happen. But I don't see them making to the playoffs this year, but I do see them making to a New Year's Six bowl this year.
Yeah, I agree. Earlier this week, Harbaugh announced that he's going to be using Cade McNamara for Week 1 against Colorado State, and then using J.J. McCarthy Week 2 against Hawaii.
Yeah.
Do you like this system that Harbaugh's implementing of using different quarterbacks in weeks and seeing where who will be the starter by Week 3?
Well, they are playing weaker opponents, so I feel like they should be fine. Like they're playing Hawaii and Colorado State. They're going to win those games, but they want to see who performs better, and they want to give them a whole game and not have them worried about getting pulled out a game. So I actually kind of like this situation that they have going on.
Yeah, staying in state, we're moving to Michigan State. Last year, they did beat Pittsburgh in the Peach Bowl and that New Year's Six Bowl, all relying heavily on Kenneth Walker III. He's gone.
Yeah.
Where do you possibly be seeing Michigan State fall, especially now with this extension of Mel Tucker?
I still think they're going to be a good team. They have they have the 23rd recruiting class, number 4 in the conference, and Michigan State always performs. I don't think they're going to be beating the big dogs of the conference, but they will be up there. I feel like they're going to be like the Chicago Bulls last year were in the NBA. They're going to beat all the teams that they should beat and lose to the teams that people think they are not going to beat. But hey, our friend Jake Jorgensen might have something else to say about that. Too bad we don't have him on the pod this podcast.
Yeah, but you can catch him over doing NFL stuff. Well, when it comes out, we'll let y'all know.
Yeah.
All right. On to the third, possibly the three-headed snake that is the SEC, Big Ten East. But I mean, let's be real. Like the Big Ten East could basically be like the best division in all of football behind the SEC West. Don't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. That Big Ten East is definitely loaded, and what Will was going to do, we're going to Ohio State, who had number 1 recruiting class in the conference, number 4 overall. They don't have a problem recruiting, but Ryan Day, I feel like he might be on the hot seat if he doesn't have a good season this year or have a season like last year, just because he adopted this team from Urban Meyer, who made this team a national champ. Too bad he left, but they lost to Utah in the Rose Bowl. Oh no, they beat Utah in the Rose Bowl. My bad. We all been over this, but yeah, we beat Utah. They beat Utah in the Rose Bowl. Ryan Day, I would like to see how long he can stay in Ohio State. just because they're expecting national championships. They're not expecting to. They are expecting to make the playoffs, but national championships is on Ohio State's mind, especially with the team they have this year, which I can see them winning a national championship. I know you probably have something else to say about that, but yeah, I can definitely see Ohio State winning a national championship this year.
I actually agree with you. I think Ohio State, this is the all or nothing year for two of the best players in the country, C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Possibly the best quarterback, definitely the best receiver in the country.
Yeah.
And it's a highly loaded offense. It's Ohio State. Like, if they didn't lose to Michigan, they would have played Georgia, and I think they would have beaten Georgia. And we could have seen a rematch of what?
You know dang well Ohio State was not beating Georgia last year. But I'm going to let you keep going.
I think that offense could have put down Georgia's defense. We saw it with Alabama. I think Ohio State would have done the same. But regardless, I think Ohio State, outside of the SEC, is the best team in the country.
Yeah. But I don't know about Ohio State beating Georgia last year. Georgia just had – their defense was just disgusting. They had the number 1 overall pick, and they had a lot of first-round picks on that team last year. But anyways, we're not talking about Georgia.
We'll cover this, later down the season.
Yeah.
All right. Now moving on to probably one of the teams that backtracked this past year, a team that used to be a top 10 contender. They produced a lot of high-quality players. Like last year they had, what's his name? The receiver that went to Washington. He was a first-rounder. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson.
It's Penn State, and last year was a massive regression. They went from being a team looking into the playoffs to falling at 7-6. They lost to Arkansas in the Outback Bowl, and this is all coming in right after James Franklin signed a massive, I think it was 10-year extension. Stay in Happy Valley. Do you think that was a good move?
Yeah, it was. He's a great coach. I'm surprised he's even got that job, honestly, because he was at Vanderbilt. And we all know what happens at Vanderbilt. That's where your coaching career goes to die. Or you just become a coordinator. But, yeah, he's a great coach, honestly. They get their quarterback back, so that's great. I could see them being up there. I could see them upsetting either Michigan or Ohio State, just because the history of that program and them being good on this side of the conference. I can definitely see Penn State being a sleeper team in the conference for sure.
Yeah, they had the 6th best recruiting class in the country, second only to Ohio State in the conference. I mean, they could make noise, but do I see playoffs? Probably not. I could see them potentially making a New Year's Six bowl, but in the end of the day, like, there's no way they're going to be ahead of Ohio State or Michigan. Yeah. Michigan State, I think, is probably going to be them, and Michigan State are going to be like that competition for the best of the rest, at least in this division, if not the conference.
Yeah.
All right, this one I think was going to be a quick summary. It's Rutgers, kind of the outsider of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Last year they went 5-8, only made a bowl because Texas A&M pulled out, but they still got whooped by Wake Forest in the Gator Bowl. This is Greg Schiano's second stint here. Obviously, he left to take a Tampa Bay job a couple years ago, and then that didn't work out, and now he's back. Almost took a Tennessee job, and then Tennessee fans were not happy about it, so he pulled out of that. Do you think this could be, the last year we see Greg Schiano in East Brunswick?
Yes, honestly. Just because they didn't really do much in recruiting. They didn't have that bad of a recruiting class, but for one of the better conferences in the country, that recruiting class is not going to help you win any games. But we really need to talk about how they even made a bowl. Like, it was a fluke. So that probably most likely saves his job last year. I can see him getting booted after this year for sure.
Yeah. So now we move on to the West, and we can now talk about a team who actually played yesterday, Illinois. They beat Wyoming to start the season, but they also had Virginia later on. Last year this was a team that took headlines for beating Penn State in a 9-overtime game. They have your former guy, Brett Bielema, as head coach. Do you think that he has what it takes to turn this program around?
He's not. Yeah, he's actually a pretty good coach. I don't really hate Brett Bielema. His time at Arkansas, he wasn't a good recruiter, or the way he recruited was just old fashioned. He's great for Big Ten. He used to be in the Big Ten when he was in Wisconsin, and he's pretty good Big Ten coach. Honestly, I can see them being a 7-8 game win team, making a bowl.
Really?
Yeah, I can see them being pretty decent, or if not this year, but in the future for sure.
We'll get to that in a second, but next up we have Western Division champions last year, Iowa. It's kind of this team that used to be the producer for tight ends, and they kind of nothing else in terms of offense. They lost Citrus Bowl last year to Kentucky. O-line, they had the anchor that is Tyler Lindenbaum. He was gone, and now it's time of a downgrade. Quarterback-wise, Spencer Petras should be the starter, but don't be surprised if you see Alex Padilla or even freshman Joe Levis take over. And what do you think about Iowa as a whole? Like, this is a team that usually doesn't make a lot of noise, but sometimes that you could see them in the top 4 for a week and then fall out. What do you make of Iowa this year?
I definitely see them taking a step back. Pretty sure I didn't really have them doing much in this year. They didn't really recruit that well. Well, top 30 recruiting class is actually not that bad, but I see them taking a step back, losing a big anchor on the offensive line, and having to find out who your quarterback is. The thing about college football, the best teams usually win. The national championship teams usually know who their quarterback is going into the season. I really don't like quarterback battles because of that, and I see them taking a step back for sure. But their defense should be pretty nice.
Yeah, you have probably one of the best linebacking duos in the conference. That had Seth Benson and Jack Campbell, which they combined. They each had over 100 tackles last year. Could make some noise.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Minnesota. They won the Guarantee Rate Bowl over West Virginia last year. PJ Fleck came in, took over this job after he did a really good job at Western Michigan a couple years back. I still think he's a good coach, but do you still think he's, fit for this Big Ten environment?
Well, I'm gonna give him a little pass on the recruiting just because he's just coming in, but he's gonna have to fix that for sure.
He's been here for like 5 years now.
But. Oh, never mind. My bad. Yeah, well, he's definitely going to have to step that up then because that's pretty bad. 49, 14 overall in that conference.
Last place.
He's had great teams. Like, they've been pretty competitive in this conference. We really need to see him actually have a good year like last year. Because if not, next year he will be on the hot seat. So I'm just going to sit back and watch how Minnesota plays this year.
Yeah, Tanner Morgan's coming back for his 5th and final year. He's been a really good quarterback, at least in terms of Big Ten. I think he could come in and take them to that promised land. Not so much, Western title, but at least, a solid season for Minnesota.
Yeah, I can see them making the bowl, though.
Yeah, and now I think we come to the laughingstock of the college football world after yesterday's questionable performance over in Ireland, and that is the dumpster fire of Lincoln himself, Nebraska.
It's bad back there, man.
It was.
They were like winning. Like when I watched only the first half of it because I had to go to work, but they were winning. Then I get off of work and all I hear is like, bro, Nebraska's just bad. Like, they need to go back to 1970s where they were top dogs in the country. Like, what is going on in Lincoln?
I don't know if you saw the questionableness of having a onside kick in the second quarter. I think they were only down by 3 at that point, but still, just pulling that off that early of an ambition. And this is a team that everyone's been hyping up, obviously, like because it's Nebraska. I think we always talk about that one team in every conference that gets overhyped, and for the Big Ten, that is Nebraska.
They're not overhyped. Not really, because they just suck. They've been bad for a few years. I wouldn't say they're overhyped.
Yesterday they had former Texas quarterback Casey Thompson start. He looked good for a quarter.
Yeah.
And then they fell apart badly to an equally bad Northwestern team. Scott Frost, he has to get fired. Like,
is it Scott Frost or Brian Harsin?
Yeah, ESPN. For everyone that is ESPN, thought Brian Harsin was the Nebraska, and even the Big Sky Conference, an FCS conference, doesn't want to deal with Nebraska.
They say, hey, we good.
I even saw a screenshot of a fan blog online post board for Nebraska calling in for Urban Meyer. That's how you know how bad it is in Lincoln.
Urban Meyer is a great college coach. To be honest, I wouldn't mind those 3 years of drama having Urban Meyer before he gets fired for doing something stupid again, just to revive the actual team.
And it's not going to get better for them either. They have Oklahoma in a few weeks. Like, that's just going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, whoever made their schedule really didn't care about them or the program at all.
Yeah, so moving on to the team they played yesterday, Northwestern.
Yeah, they look good. I like Northwestern as a program, and they looked good yesterday. Well, and they were playing a dumpster fire of a team. They have a new QB in Ryan Helinski, which someone that I like. They didn't recruit well. Don't really expect Northwestern being a good recruiting school, but they always have a solid team, except for like last year. Last year was pretty bad, but I don't mind. I like when Northwestern's good. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they're a team you kind of like to root for. They're like Vandy in the sense of they're the academic school.
Hey, don't compare Northwestern
to Vandy. They're the high academic school of the conference.
I'm gonna name them. They're more like a Stanford.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that in the anomaly of we're from the South. We always say that Vandy's there for academics. Yeah, kind of thing.
That's an insult. Compare someone to Vandy is a huge insult.
Okay, but before I get more trouble with whatever Northwestern fan finds this podcast, Purdue, a team that's kind of surprised everyone last year, making it to the top 25 for the first time in 15 years or something like that. They beat Tennessee in the Music City Bowl in Nashville last year, but they are losing out on their best playmaker, David Bell. And it doesn't help that they started the season against Penn State. What do you make of this upcoming Purdue team?
I like Purdue. I have them as my sleeper team just because their division is so bad. Honestly, that's a terrible division. That's like the NFC least of divisions. But yeah, I have them as a sleeper team. 9-4. I feel like they could probably do better than that this year, even though they lost their best playmaker. Didn't have a good recruiting class, but hey, I like Purdue.
Yeah, I also think they'll be a sleeper team. They could, pop in the top 25 for a little bit. I think they're gonna win the division. Now, they're gonna come close, absolutely. But I think the team that is gonna make the most noise in this division is our last team we're gonna talk about, and that is Wisconsin. Yeah. Surprisingly, not that good of a recruiting class in terms of the Big Ten. 11th place, 44th in the country. Finished 9-4. They beat Arizona State in Las Vegas Bowl. Growing up, we knew them as RBU.
Yeah, for sure.
Their last good one was Jonathan Taylor, who, let's be real, you're going to take number 1 overall tonight in our friends' fantasy league draft.
Oh, no, maybe.
But, yeah, they have Braylon Allen, most likely to name the starter. And him and Chez Malusi had a combined 2,000 yards last year. Do you think Wisconsin is still RBU in terms of what they've been producing?
I don't think so anymore. Can they because they always have a good offensive line. That's literally their play style is running the ball, that old school type of play style, run it down your throat, and if we win, we win, and it usually works for them. Graham Mertz, he's a great quarterback. I like him as a quarterback. I'm pretty sure he was a highly recruited guy coming into college. I can see Wisconsin winning this division too, but hey, I'm a Purdue fan. I might go get me one of those gold helmets, go buy me a train, and just choo Purdue all year. But yeah, I'm looking I'm looking to see who's going to win this division, to see who's going to lose in the Big Ten championship for sure.
Pretty much, and I think it's time we go over our predictions.
Yeah.
But so here's what I think, at least in terms of going forward, what we expect to see in Indianapolis this upcoming December. So I agree. Here's what I think. I think Wisconsin's going to win the West Division. I think they're going to go like somewhere around 9-3. They'll drop a few games, but still win the division. Behind them, I have Purdue and Iowa right there at 8-4. I think barely missing out on that division title. Right after that, I have Minnesota going 7-5. I think Minnesota's a good team. I think they're going to take us one step backwards because they don't have the right weapons. But I still think it'll be, somewhat of a good season for them. After that, I have Northwestern going 6-6. I think after what we saw yesterday, this is a team that can figure out if they're down, click together, and make that effort, finish right at 500, make a bowl game. Barely missing out. I wouldn't say barely. I think in the last two, tied for last place, I have Illinois and Nebraska going 4-8 each, and I think Greg Bielema keeps his job, but Scott Frost has to go. I think he's going to be fired halfway through the season if they keep up.
You think that early? I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah.
We've seen it before.
Hey, he's a Nebraska legend though, so I don't know. I feel like they'll keep him all year before they fire him in the middle of the season.
That's how that fan base just loses their mind.
Yeah, but for me, you're gonna be like, what were you doing when you were picking these records? So I have Purdue 11-1. They don't have that hard of a schedule, but this is just a rough estimate. I don't really watch Big Ten football like that.
11-1.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be that high. I can see them 9-3 though, and I have Iowa 9-3, and I also have Wisconsin 8-4. They could actually be a little bit higher. Minnesota, I would love to see them play good. I have them 7-5, and Illinois I have at 6-6, making the bowl game. Northwestern, I have them 5-7, and honestly, they probably could become 6-6 with some of the swing games they have with the lower teams. Then I have, who do you think I have last? In Nebraska at 3-9, having one win again in the conference, and I'm pretty sure that's against Indiana, which I'm about to switch to the East. I have Ohio State 12-0, which they could go 11-1. My bad, not 1-11. But yeah, 11-1 if they lose to Michigan. I have those two teams. Whoever wins that game is going to win the conference. Penn State, I have them 10-2. Probably they're most likely a 9-3, 8-4 team. Michigan State, I have them 9-3. But the big loss with Kenneth Walker is going to hurt them, I feel like. Maryland 5-7. I would love for them to be a 6-6 team and make it to a bowl. Rutgers 4-8, and last place in the entire conference I have Indiana at 2-10 with 0 conference wins.
You're really doing Indiana dirty with that one.
Hey.
So like you said, I think the winner of this division is going to come down to the game between Michigan and Ohio State, and I think Ohio State is going to win that. I think Ohio State and Michigan both go 11-1. I think Ohio State's one loss is going to be to Penn State of all teams. I think Michigan's one loss is going to be to Ohio State, and that's going to be the tiebreaker between the two and elevate Ohio State to go into the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin in my book. Like I said, Michigan's going to finish second at 11-1. Behind them, I have Michigan State going 10-2. I think Mel Tucker is going to utilize the same progress he did with Kenneth Walker and use it on this new offense, and they're going to take over their two losses coming to two teams ahead of them. Penn State, I have 9-3. I think Sean Clifford is going to do a good job at quarterback. He's not going to have Jahan Dotson anymore, but he's still going to have a really good offense. After that, Maryland going 6-6. Talia's last season, I think he does a really good job under Loxley.
Does he not have a Does he not have a COVID year?
Well, he was a freshman at his first year at Alabama,
but
and then he transferred.
He redshirted that one.
Yeah, no, because I don't remember. I just know he's a senior this year.
Okay, well, yeah, he probably has a COVID year. He might transfer again, honestly.
Or probably to play for the draft.
Yeah. Which is not going to be a good idea, but yeah.
Yeah. After Maryland, I have Indiana going 5-7. I think Mazzarek is going to be a great offensive boost for this team. They're not going to make a bowl game, but I think they're going to come within an inch of it and possibly get in based off APR if that comes down to it. And then lastly, I have Rutgers going 3-9. I think Shianu is not himself after leaving for the NFL. And I think that Rutgers just kind of falls apart and he doesn't come back.
Yeah. Hey.
But before we go, there's one thing I want to talk about, and it's something we talked about yesterday, and that is, what is Desmond Howard on?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it? You saw his playoff prediction on game day. Yeah, what do you make of it?
He is definitely tripping. Michigan's they're not winning a national championship. Wait, no, he had Texas. Wait, who did he have winning that?
He had A&M.
A&M, yeah. A&M's definitely not winning no national championship.
He had Michigan in the final. He had Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
Pittsburgh is hilarious. They're not even making it to the conference championship. They might, but no, I don't see them even making the conference championship. He really needs. I don't know. He might need to get fired after those picks. I feel like College Game Day, they're just saying whatever to get people ready for college football, but you don't have to do that. College football, everyone loves college football.
Yeah. And to wrap it up, I think probably the most obvious one, Ohio State's going to beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, sure. Ohio State or Michigan, but I don't.
Whoever wins the game is going to win the Big Ten championship.
But I see Ohio State actually winning the national championship, but I see Michigan. I don't think they can make the national championship. I don't know. Depending on what other teams we're gonna do that when we the podcast before the first week. We're gonna pick our Doak Walker, who's gonna win the Heisman and all of that coming up next week.
But before we do that, we are gonna do Big Ten next week.
Big 12.
Big 12.
Yeah.
We'll do Big 12. We'll do our award winners, and then one after that, we'll have our first year of college football done.
Yeah, we might even have a little live stream on our Instagrams. Next Saturday for sure.
Yeah. You can catch that. We'll promote them more. We should probably get a social media up and going at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, college football is back. We're excited.
Welcome back, baby.
We'll talk about Big 12 next time.
Yeah. See you soon, Will. Well, I'm actually going to talk to you tonight because we have our fantasy draft tonight. But
that is true. He has the first pick. I have the third pick. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Hopefully, all of my running backs don't get injured this year like they usually do.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, hey, Will, shut up, Will. Your team was so overpowered last year.
Yeah, and guess what? My first rounder was okay. We're going off topic. All right, we'll catch y'all next time.
Yeah, catch y'all next time, man.